Breaking the gray.
Welcome back to the Rebel Scientist podcast, where we challenge the norm, ask bold questions, and dive deep into the world of health, science, and innovation. Hi, I'm Chantel, and I'll be the new host of the Rebel Scientist podcast, a new member of Sarah Thrive. I'm going to be joined today by none other than, of course, the founder of Sarah Thrive and Rebel Scientist herself, Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Chantel. It's nice to see you. It's
nice
a change from the friendly face of Russ, but an even friendly face of Chantel.
Yes, still hair, just on the head, not on the face. So Sarah and I have been traveling together and learning and adventuring a lot of health and wellness things over the last 8 months. So we thought we're going to start 2025 with a new chapter of a bunch of questions that we sort of started accumulating at these conferences and just taking in what people are wanting to know regarding everything health and wellness and red light therapy. So, but I thought we'd start today before we start diving into the questions. This will be our base for setting up before we hit the road again, which is soon, isn't it? And to ask you a few funky questions, Sarah, that people might want to know about you.
Yes.
So the first one is, what's the strangest thing you've ever packed in your suitcase while traveling?
Well, you're right, but I do a lot of traveling. I think maybe one of the strangest things was I once did a trial in Cuba where I had to bring in all the samples myself. So I actually took in 6 suitcases full of supplements. So that was 6 suitcases absolutely chock full of anti-inflammatory herbs.
What? Did no one ask any questions?
Yeah, people did ask. but it was fine. I got through in the end, and actually it was a successful study. So anti-inflammatory supplements, particularly ginkgo biloba, actually.
Oh, amazing.
For fibromyalgia.
Where were you coming from?
From London.
From London. Okay. Good to know. And I mean, this leads to another one. Do you feel like that was, or is there something else that is the most rebellious thing you've done in the name of health and wellness?
Do you know what? I think the most rebellious thing that I have done is kind of give up a fairly kind of successful career as a research scientist in a pharmaceutical company and start up the orthodox medicine calls fringe science, which is photobiomodulation for brain health. So, yeah, I think that's kind of fairly rebellious, but I don't regret a second of it.
No, and as your team, we're very glad that you did. Okay, and the last one, if you could have dinner with any scientist, living or dead, currently, who would it be?
I forgot you were going to ask this question. Well, actually, one of my all-time favourite scientists was Dr. May Wan Ho, who wrote the book The Rainbow and the Worm. And actually, I was lucky enough not to go to dinner with her, but to spend some time at her house and even do a little bit of art with her.
Really?
Yes. And so I would love to meet up with her again because a fair amount of time has passed since I spoke to her. And I feel like I can understand a lot more of what she was trying to say to me at that time.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, she would be my preferred dinner guest.
Well, this was a shout out if she's listening.
Unfortunately, she passed away.
So I missed
my opportunity. But there are lots of other people who are kind of on that page of quantum biology.
Yeah. Okay.
That are kind of keeping her flame alive.
I guess this leads to our Sarah system in using all the inspiration and the people that you've had, and since you've left the job you mentioned. For those who know nothing about the Sarah system and kind of new with it, what, besides, the career change and being excited about this field, inspired you to create the actual Sarah Thrive system?
My main inspiration behind creating the system was actually being on a trial where I saw for myself that it worked. Mm-hmm. Before I actually did that data analysis, I was really just interested in it as a concept, that we could heal ourselves with light. To me, it was a very interesting concept. I understood it from a biochemical point of view because I was studying structured water. But I didn't actually realize the profound effect it would have on people's lives until I did the research study. Mm-hmm. So that was really a turning point for me, was actually the experiential side. like I say, looking at structured water, you can see how light could potentially affect biology in a big way, but really actually being with real people, seeing the effect on their lives, seeing the effect on their partners' lives, their families' lives. That was my main inspiration for sure.
I think that was one of the most interesting things for me also since we've been traveling and diving into things. That was one of the things that sort of blew my mind the most and made me the most excited was how the manipulation and you speaking about structured water. I guess also just for me wondering how that affects your brain and the brain health, obviously, because your brain has this vacuum underneath the skull of liquid. So maybe I didn't plan to ask you this question, but what do you think the benefits are for people in general, whether you like for people that aren't necessarily struggling with, like a severe symptom or severe disease in using a device like that on your brain?
So you mean like what's from a general health point of view?
Yeah.
Brain health. Because actually, yes, you're right. There is a lot of emphasis on the clinical side, especially neurodegeneration. But as you know, we spend a lot of time in the biohacker world.
Yeah.
And here you have people that are just looking for optimization or increased performance. And actually, there is quite a lot of data to show that you can take your brain from a baseline of where it's at to better. So whether, you're looking at taking your baseline, it's pretty low and you need to do something to increase functionality, or whether actually you're really firing on all cylinders, but, you don't know if there's just a little bit more that you can go to.
Yes.
I think really that is what photobiomodulation is doing, because it's not symptom-based. We're not curing illness. What we're doing is providing the body with the energy that it needs, the signaling that it needs, perhaps even like we're talking about, perhaps structuring the water in the most beneficial way to enable optimal functioning. So it's not just for sick people. This is definitely for elevating your health, increasing sleep, improving cognition, all of those things. We're not looking to just make people free of symptoms. We're looking for people to thrive, hence why we have the company Sarah Thrive. It's not just about being free of symptoms. It's about being the best you can be. It's about making your brain optimized. So that's the most exciting part, is that it's fundamentally working on just general wellness, not symptom-based medicine.
Amazing. I think that's a really important one for people to know or be aware of. It's and if they find out about the device, or people that don't know the device that are hearing about it for the first time. And in terms of mitochondrial health, and that obviously being a big focus with the Sarah system and what it can do to your mitochondria, could you maybe give a little bit of like a brief overview of the importance of your mitochondrial health in your general well-being?
Yeah, so mitochondrial health, again, this is another huge topic that's just kind of sprung up now as people start to really gauge the importance of it. And just to backtrack a little bit, that mitochondria are those small organelles inside your cell that make energy. So the mitochondria is probably historically or ancestrally a bacteria that was taken up by a multicellular organism in order to have this synergistic relationship, because the bacteria stroke what we now call mitochondria can provide the energy, and the multicellular organism can obviously have other benefits for that bacteria, So mitochondrial health is about targeting those specific organelles in order to raise the health of the body generally. And we know now, the mitochondria is separate from the cell. It has its own DNA and it signals to the cell what's going on. So if you're targeting this very small organelle, the most obvious thing is producing energy, because that's what these mitochondria do for us. They produce ATP, but they're also involved in cell signaling. And this is where the interesting part comes in, because they also act as a way to signal to the cell whether it's time to heal or what the cell needs to do. And that leads to these like switches, like epigenetic switches, where different proteins get turned off and on. So this is where you may hear about the science of epigenetics and how your genes are not necessarily your destiny, because different genes can be switched on and off depending on your environment. And a lot of the sensing of that environment is done by the mitochondria. And that's why the mitochondria is so important and why people are focusing on it a lot more. And red light therapy, we know, is mainly mitochondrial medicine. It's an energy that's received by the mitochondria and then turned into work, if you like. The mitochondria transmute the energy from light into something that the body can utilize.
So wild. That's why they call them I heard the thing recently. I really like how you explain it, because I think a lot of people, say want to improve their health, but are a bit intimidated by the science. Yes. In terms of explaining it, like going back, hearing about the mitochondria being like the little power, little superman within the cell. And in terms of like the accessibility of the Sarah system, just going back to the device, for someone who's, so they're wanting to improve their energy, maybe they're wanting to, or they're struggling with something a bit more serious. But in terms of it being a day-to-day thing or in a week, I thought it might be nice to give people a brief overview of what their week could look like, and how adaptable it is in your everyday life.
Yeah, well, what we're really doing is like kind of mimicking what the body would be doing anyway if you're outside seeing sunrise and sunset and, getting good light exposure to these red wavelengths. So the body is programmed, if you like, genetically programmed to see sunrise and sunset every day. So, these therapies, red light therapies, can be done daily. It is a bit of a low-level stress to the body, so it's a little bit like exercise, because once you have shine light onto the mitochondria have to do something with that energy. So it's something that you can build up to gradually as well. Mm-hmm. But for something like the Sarah system, where we've got like this gut-brain light, it's medium to low dose light. You can do 10 minutes a day every day of the week, or maybe 3 days of the week. As long as you're consistent with that therapy, you really don't need to overdo it, if you like. I think in the biohacking world, people are all about, the maximum amount, and like the whole gym, no pain, no gain. But actually with this very gentle therapy, really you just need consistency, and a dose of light is 10 minutes with this particular device. So just 10 minutes 3 times a week is enough to have an effect.
And what is the first type of benefits that people could start seeing in what kind of time frame? Because I feel like that's a question maybe is a general one we get a lot.
Sure, we get asked that a lot. And it just depends where you're at. Like the sicker you are, or the more depleted your mitochondria are, the faster you're going to see a result.
Yes.
So somebody who's very ill, or somebody who's maybe indoors a lot, maybe not eating the right foods, or maybe has had some kind of virus, you're going to see that effect much more quickly than someone who's kind of top of their game, because you've got less far to go. But actually, most people have some kind of gut thing going on now. So what we tend to find with the Sarah system is that people start to see improvements in their gut health after a few weeks, really just 2 weeks. Then the brain piece tends to follow on after that. So I would normally say, as a rule of thumb, you expect to see improvement in gut health after 2 weeks, and then maybe 6 weeks you really start to see the gains in brain wellness. But it's something that you need to do. It's not like a quick 2-week fix.
No.
It's like any of these therapies that you do need to be persistent, and you need to do it regularly. It needs to become part of a routine.
Yes. Yeah. I guess it's like the problem is with all the quick fads and things is people are often looking for the quick fix. But I mean, that's a really quick turnaround for something that is still such low maintenance, actually, I think. It's a very short turnaround if you've been struggling for something.
Yeah, everybody's different. We have Seb, who's now one of our clinical advisors. He has motor neuron disease. He took 6 months to kind of get to the point where he says he really feels the effect. He had some gains after a few weeks, but that's slowly, incrementally increasing. And same with people who have IBS. They may see gains after a couple of weeks, but after 6 months, you really start to reap the benefits.
Yeah.
But it is very individual. We've all come from different places, and however long it's taken you to get ill, you've kind of got to reverse back up that track. It's not a quick fix. We're not using a pharmaceutical. We're doing actually supporting the body to heal itself, and that does take time.
And another one that's actually quite interesting that obviously we've seen on the road now is the combination of therapies or modalities and things. I wanted to ask you what you're most excited about like red light in conjunction with.
Yeah, you're right. We've seen all kinds, haven't we? I mean, it really depends on what you like doing and how you're set up and what your goal is. So we have people using the NanoV, we have people doing compression boots, we have people doing hyperbarics, cold therapy. For me, I find that I use it in conjunction with things like stretching. I do the breathwork exercises that are on the app. I do the meditations. For me, that's an obvious like hack stacking. You know, if you're going to take 10 minutes out of your day anyway and sit and maybe do some meditation or journaling or whatever it is, to do it with the red light, you know, it's just a thing you can do together that they're a bit synergistic.
Yes.
But I know clinics are different. Clinics, you know, we've also been talking to people who are pairing it with IV, things like that.
Or the chiropractor.
So chiropractic. Yeah, things where you're maybe looking to increase healing after an adjustment or after you've been to the physio or after you've been to the chiro, you know, all of those kind of things. There are lots of pairings because really what you're doing is you're just helping the body heal.
And well, this is a question I think I asked you ages ago too, and I was like, getting nerdy with it, with pairing red light therapy, if you're using the device, and the efficiency, if it has it with things like methylene blue or spirulina, if you would suggest that for somebody, or if it's like a biohacker that's just looking for the optimal way to use it, if there's one that you prefer, or do you think you could still get the same, you know, like, does it add that much of an extra benefit?
You know, the methylene blue one, I'm still doing some research on that. I mean, we have good friends like Pavel, and he's been using the Sarah system, and he says that he definitely feels an effect with using methylene blue. I have used methylene blue. I've used various forms. I have the drops and I have the tablets and I have the truckies. I think my baseline is fairly high because I'm fairly high energy. And I think really what the methylene blue is doing is providing your body with the extra energy, because methylene blue is an electron recycler. You know, if your body is producing a lot of reactive oxygen species, it will help to mop those up. If you're kind of struggling to get the energy, it will put energy into the system. So it is a good pairing with red light therapy. My only concern is it is used as an anti-parasitic. So potentially there could be a slight negative effect on gut flora.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of evidence for that, actually. And I know a lot of my friends in the biohacking world heavily promote the use of methylene.
Yes.
I do. I like spirulina and chlorella.
Me too.
Anything green, I also think that pairs very well with red light therapy. So I tend to opt for that option more now.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's like what we were speaking about that one day, because I was thinking about it on like a base level of how plants photosynthesize with the sun. So I was like, it's like how our bodies.
Sure, we are on some level photosynthesizing, and I know that sounds a bit hippified. But it's evident, you know, there is scientific evidence that if you have that chloroplast, if you have that green pigment in your cells, that you are able to utilize light more. A bit far out, but you know, this is something that actually in yoga they've been, you know, it's a yoga thing. They've been telling people that, you know, to eat your greens for that reason.
It's true.
But I do find actually that spirulina does give me a lot of energy, and I little plug for energy bits. I use energy bits. Because they're great, they're easy, and we're often given handfuls of those at the events.
I love it.
Full of those. But I also have the loose powder. I think it's a great combination. I think, and actually anything that's very highly coloured, also curcumin and turmeric. Also potentially I think is good pairing with red light therapy, because red light therapy is anti-inflammatory, but if you're also taking these anti-inflammatory compounds, it adds to the effect.
It was more of a personal joke, but so Sarah and I both love cacao chocolate. And I was going to say, is there any research that suggests cacao?
I'm sure we could dig something up about antioxidants right there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in cacao.
Exactly. So Sarah, obviously, because there's been so many years of researching and developing the system. So I was wondering if you have any stories you could share that for you feels like a standout moment on this journey of having the device and starting to actually have, customers and clients and people that using, like you mentioned, Seb? And yeah, if there's anyone else or anything you can mention that's kind of been the most standout for you when you could see it, not only for yourself using the device, but that you've seen in other people.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky that I do get to, we're a fairly small company right now that I get to meet almost all of our customers, and especially ones that do have a good effect. So at the moment, I'm here in the UK, and we're lucky enough to be doing a lot of work with Paul Chazot, Professor Paul Chazot at Durham University.
Yeah.
So I'm a member of some of his groups, and I'm a member of his pain group. So I have a couple of ladies there who've been using the device. Actually, they started using it for fibromyalgia, but it's turned into a study on IBS because both of these ladies, as well as fibromyalgia, had IBS. And it seems like that's common that people have both of those conditions at the same time. So I had a very kind of emotional meet up with a couple of our participants on the trial recently in Durham. Because, IBS, it's not life-threatening, but it's pretty life-limiting if you have it badly.
Mm-hmm.
Having the swollen stomach is very miserable, and not knowing whether you're going to be able to get to a loo in time, all of those things. Pretty miserable for people on the daily, like I say, although, it's not one of the conditions that people usually worry about too much. So it was lovely, actually, to hear people getting symptom relief from that. So that was probably one of a good day for me, going to meet those two ladies. And since then, there's been a lot of people who've given us feedback on email about IBS and bowel conditions. So that's a cool one. Also, although we can't say that we're doing anything to cure, treat, prevent or diagnose any condition, it's heartwarming when people have a guy with early onset Parkinson's who is improving his condition, let's say. Or improving his symptoms. We won't even say condition because we don't want to kind of get in saying that we're treating Parkinson's. We're not treating Parkinson's. However, we are helping people deal with some of their symptoms there. So again, that's hugely heartwarming to hear those stories.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's the most amazing thing about doing all this traveling, right, is knowing that there's more and more people, because I think the reason a lot of us or people get involved with, on a personal level, get involved with alternative modalities because you're struggling to find answers for certain symptoms. It's not that, I think it's just amazing when things do improve for people, especially like you're saying, even about the IBS thing, because it's like that constant annoyance for someone, and maybe it just affects their entire way of believing in themselves. So even just a tiny improvement can be such a big thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anything that helps you manage symptoms or increase your quality of life, and it has a knock-on effect for everyone around.
Yeah, totally. I've just seen our time, so I thought we could do something. We could do something fun right at the end, also for people. It's been so amazing, actually, to speak like this. So thank you for sharing with everyone that you've already spoken to before, but thank you for sharing again with me. I'm excited for us to obviously be on the road again, and we're going to be sharing more on the road.
For sure, and we're going to finding a lot more, of these interesting biohackers, longevity, regenerative medicine people.
Yeah.
Because everybody's starting to integrate red light therapy. Everyone has a different take on it. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a good.
Yes, to 2025.
Yeah.
So to sort of start wrapping it up, I thought I could give you some rapid fire questions about a few of like the latest health things coming up. And you can say the first thing that comes to mind. So the first one, cold plunges, yay or nay?
Well, yay. I'm saying yay. Cold plunges, not cold showers. Cold plunges.
Cold plunges. Plant-based diets? The future or the fad?
Not for me, but I think they have their place.
Okay. AI-driven health trackers? Love them or leave them?
Oh yeah, love them. I mean, it's coming. We have to. We have to embrace all this AI stuff, and actually, it's going to give us huge amounts of information. So yes, I mean, obviously, I'm a bit nervous about people's data and what that might mean, but I'm thinking positive.
Same. Biohacking retreats, worth it or overhyped?
Yeah, worth it. If you're going to spend some time out and go on holiday, why not do a biohacking retreat? I mean, that it's the way forward.
Totally.
Yeah, healthy holidays.
You get the full thing.
You
full
do.
body rejuvenation. And is there any last little bits that you'd like to leave everyone with today?
No, I think you're a fantastic co-host.
Thank you for having me.
We miss Russ, of course.
We miss Russ.
You stand in his place well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to everyone else we're going to meet this year.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And if any of our listeners have any questions for Sarah or for Sarah Thrive or Rebel Scientist, please send it over to us, because we'd like to obviously continue to incorporate whatever it is that you are seeking to understand. And to all listeners, also don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend who's ready to level up their health, and leave us a review. And we hope you stay curious, stay bold, and we'll see you next time on the Rebel Science Talk.
See you next time.
Bye.
Breaking the Gray.